I feel like we're quickly headed towards a scenario where there's going to be a lockout in the WNBA. And this is something I've talked about a few times because I think the players, they just have a much higher perception around their dollar value worth than the league is actually worth. And some of this stuff will work itself out, right? Like if you look at the WNBA, attendance, viewership, like merchandise sale, everything's up and to the right. Sponsorships, they're making a lot more money, TV rights, everything. But most people don't understand the dynamic between the NBA owning a large chunk of the business, the owners owning a large chunk of the revenue stream, and the players are out there every day. I mean, you just look at what was happening in that 60 Minutes interview. Aaliyah Boston said that she wants commas in her paycheck, $1 million+ essentially, right? And that's not happening anytime soon in the WNBA. Like, it's just not going to happen. A'ja Wilson makes $200,000 a year. And we're going to get to a point where that's going to set in as reality. And I think the players are going to have a really hard time dealing with that because they're going on the road and they're seeing these sold out arenas. But the economics of the league just don't give that opportunity.
What if the WNBA's biggest star is gone in 2 years? Not from injury, not from retirement, but because the league misreads its own future. Caitlin Clark is the engine behind record ratings, sellout crowds, and a wave of mainstream attention. Yet insiders keep repeating the same warning. If the current path holds, 2026 might be her last year in a WNBA jersey. This is not fan panic. It is the business math, the labor calendar, and a rival league with a bigger checkbook. Today, you will see why the clock is louder than it looks, why a canceled season would hit harder than anyone expects, and why one player can tilt an entire sport's trajectory. The question is simple. Does the WNBA secure its prime asset now, or does it gamble and watch her walk? Keep watching, because each step of this story stacks pressure on the next. The date is the problem. The current collective bargaining agreement ends in 2026. That means every unresolved issue gets shoved.
As you guys know, negotiations have essentially stalled for a new collective bargaining agreement in the WNBA. For the first time ever, WNBA players think they have leverage. Key word, think. Now, in their defense, they do have leverage in the short term. The problem is, if this short-term leverage is used and the 2026 WNBA season is canceled, it could have devastating long-term impacts on pretend basketball.
Into a single deadline. Salaries, revenue splits, media money, travel, expansion. If you like calm negotiations, you picked the wrong league and the wrong year. Player reps see growth and want real pay. Owners see expenses and want safety. The gap is wide. The mood is tense. And in the middle sits the person who moved the needle like no one else. Clark's arrival didn't raise one metric. It lifted all of them. Tickets, merchandise, national windows, casual interest. Her impact is obvious to fans, but it is even clearer to accountants. That is why 2026 is a tipping point. If talks stall, a lockout becomes real. If a lockout becomes real, the season can vanish. If the season vanishes, the league's momentum cracks. A fragile upswing cannot survive silence. You don't need to guess what happens when a league loses a year. History gave a demonstration. When another major league shut down 2 decades ago, its TV footprint shrank and sponsors paused.
WNBA players right now, they are looking at details like ratings, attendance, social media impressions, increased mainstream interest. They are using that as leverage in an attempt to justify a massive increase in their minimum wage salaries. Most people get a raise, they're asking for 10%, maybe 20%. WNBA players, they are demanding to go from $150,000 a year.
It took years to climb back. The WNBA does not have that margin. Its surge is new. Its audience is still forming habits. Lose a summer, and those habits never form. The next part is worse. There's a competitor waiting with cash in hand, and they only need one answer from one player. But the rival is not the only pressure point. The money math inside the WNBA is already tight. Next section shows why that gap is so hard to close. Listen to what players are asking, and then look at what the system can fund. Many players want salaries that reflect the spike in attention. Think 6 zeros, not 5. They are citing full arenas and heavy TV coverage. They see a way.
I already brought this up, so I'm just going to double down on it. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to sign more than 1 year. Any free agent this year will not sign more than 1 year because of this.
And want to ride it. That sentiment is fair. The obstacle is structure. The WNBA's revenue pool is still small compared to other pro leagues. The NBA connection helps with operations, but limits what can be promised out of the gate. Owners cannot pledge money that the model cannot carry year after year. Asia Wilson's top-line pay hovers near $200,000. Average starters sit well below star pay in other sports. Meanwhile, the most visible player in the league can point to a stack of receipts that say the pie grew because she stepped into the room. That tension fuels this entire standoff. Players say the growth proves their value. Owners say the growth is still early, still fragile, and must be protected. Both sides are reacting to real facts. Both sides cannot win this.
According to players in the WNBA, we are owed this money. Pay us what we're owed. Pay us what we're owed. Yippee! The only thing WNBA players are thinking about is getting paid now. They're not thinking about the future. They're not thinking about the long-term viability of the league. They're not thinking about what happens if this sudden increase in growth is not sustainable.
And at the same time, this is why leverage talk keeps rising. The players believe the moment favors them. The league believes time and risk favor caution. Normally, you argue, sign, and move on. But this CBA ties directly to 2026. That single year amplifies every decision. If talks blow up, the season goes dark. And if the season goes dark, one destination becomes very attractive. You may have heard the name already. It promises more money, fewer games, and a different tone. That lead takes us to the wild card with a wallet. Call it a rival league or a leverage play. Either way, Unrivaled is real. It was built by players who know the WNBA's pain points. They trimmed the schedule. They designed a star-forward product. They promised respect on day one. Then they added the hook. Bigger checks for the biggest names. Reports say Clark already saw a 7-figure offer. That number is not just the headline. It is a data point in every negotiation from now to 2026. Shorter season, less travel, a pay packet that beats the WNBA by a huge margin. Those features are not just perks. They are answers to the daily grind that top players complain about most. Even if Unrivaled never becomes a decades-long institution, it does not need to. It only needs to be compelling. In the exact year the WNBA is most vulnerable. That year is 2026. The math is brutal. If the WNBA bumps its max by a healthy percentage, it still struggles to meet what Unrivaled can pay a single marquee star. If the WNBA stretches far enough to match, it risks blowing up its internal pay scale and inviting a different war inside the locker room. Either way, the decision is expensive. You can say culture wins over cash. Sometimes it does, but players who carry a league also protect their bodies and brands. More money, fewer games, friendlier press. That is a hard package to reject, which is why every insider circles the same scenario. If the CBA stalls and the season is canceled, Clark will not wait. She will work somewhere else. Before you decide how likely that is, look at what her presence does to the ecosystem. The product changes the moment she enters the building. Watch what happens when the fever hit the schedule. Ticket prices rise, seats fill, broadcasts add pregame coverage, social feeds flood the clip cycle. Merch pops. All of it ties to one name. This is not a knock on the rest of the league. It is the reality of star economics. Most sports have lived through this. The difference is depth. The NBA built redundancies. The NFL is engineered around multiple heroes at once. The WNBA is not there yet. Take the central figure out and the halo dims fast. Casual fans are the test. A committed base tunes in regardless. The new viewers need a reason. Clark is their reason. She is the entry point for people who ignored the league for years. Rookies do not often carry that load. She did it from month one. Year two did not cool it. It amplified. The league knows this. Networks know it. Brands know it. That is why uncertainty feels dangerous. If she leaves, the spike reverses. Ratings soften. Ad deals shrink. The Halo sponsorships pivot. The national conversation cools. You can say another star will appear, maybe, but the pipeline does not promise a replacement of this scale on demand. So what do you do when a single player tilts the board? You do what other leagues have done in similar storms. You protect the asset while you build the base, which leads to the next problem. Protecting the asset requires more than slogans. It requires a contract that admits the truth. The truth is uncomfortable. One player is worth more than the grid can handle. And that is where pride enters the story. If you pay one star far above the rest, you set a precedent. Every future negotiation will point back to it. That is the fear inside any front office. It is also the fear inside any locker room. Players compare checks. They watch headlines. They read the memo between the lines. But this is where logic should win. Not everyone brings the same return. The biggest star is often the network deal. The biggest star is often the sponsor pitch. The biggest star is often the reason a casual viewer learns tip-off time. You cannot pretend that value is equal. If you try to pretend, you pay in a different currency. You pay in churn. A league-friendly star-weighted package is the obvious solution. Tie bonuses to league revenue. Tie escalators to ratings thresholds. Add lifetime marketing roles after the playing years. Make the offer a partnership rather than a line item. That approach sends two messages. One to the store, we see what you mean to the product, and one to everyone else.
CBA. Yeah. When 2026 comes around, the entire league will be free agents except for people on their rookie deals. I don't even know, like, how does that even work? I don't, to the GMs, like...
GMs, assemble.
Good luck.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough.
If you move markets at this scale, the door is open to you too. The longer the WNBA waits, the more it looks like principle is blocking pragmatism. That is a risk in any negotiation. The calendar does not care how pure your stance is. It just counts days, and in this case, it counts down to the exact moment your biggest alternative can strike. There is another layer here that money cannot smooth out. Culture. Watch how tone shapes decisions. Clark's first seasons came with spotlight and heat. Extra attention attracts friction. Hard hits on drives. Little digs in pressers. A vibe that says earn it the long way. Some veterans welcomed her. Others were colder. It happens in every league when a phenomenon enters the room. Yet it matters, because stars choose their environment when they have options. Now look at the rivals' pitch. We pay more, we play less, we center you. We hand you promotional power. We make you the face out loud. That script is precise. It targets the exact spots where Clark's experience has been rough. Respect is not fluff. Brand value grows fastest where the institution protects the draw. If you're advising a player at this level, you map stress against pay and long-term positioning. The alternative checks those boxes with a bright marker. It's not only money, it's message. We will build around you. The WNBA can say the same. But it has to say it in a way that shows up in a contract and in daily tone. Culture is half spoken, half paid. If both halves are right, a star stays. If either half fails, a star scans for exits. The schedule and travel grind make the decision even simpler. And that grind connects to the big worst-case scenario. What happens if she leaves and the rival cannot hold the line? Picture the sharpest risk. Clark walks in 2026. Unrivaled rides the wave for a couple of seasons. Then the revenue curve flattens. TV money cools. The model squeezes. The league folds or restructures into something smaller. Where does that leave the WNBA? Not in a neutral place. In a weaker place. The initial loss bled trust from sponsors and viewers. The return would not simply rewind a tape. Momentum once broken is hard to rebuild. This is why insiders use the word panic. It's not about drama for clicks. It's about sequence. First a canceled season, then a star exit, then a decline in visibility, then a long rebuild with fewer partners and a colder market. The path is clear, because other leagues have lived versions of it. Avoiding that disaster requires a decision before the cliff. Waiting for the cliff is surrender dressed as patience. If the WNBA wants stability, it must write it into existence now. Stability attracts stability. A signed star is a signal to networks and sponsors. A looming fight is a warning label. So what does the action plan look like? Starts with a number. It continues with structure. It ends with a tone shift. Before the plan, track one more force in the room. Free agency. Look ahead to 2026 and circle the phrase no one enjoys. Almost everyone becomes a free agent at once. That means rosters are a house of cards. If the CBA hangs in the air, agents advise short contracts this year and next. Why lock yourself in when the market might flip? One ripple at the top becomes a wave across the league, period. If clock stands still, others still move. If clock moves, others sprint. General managers can't build continuity if the entire deck resets in one summer. Fans can't attach to a core if the core is a 12-month rental. Broadcasts can't plan narratives if stars might switch jerseys as the camera fades. Add a canceled season, and the storylines evaporate completely. You don't return from that and generate instant warmth. You restart from cold. The way out is to anchor to one player that keeps the tent upright. Sign the pole, then secure the ropes. You can manage churn if the main draw is secured. You cannot manage churn if the main draw is the first domino to fall. Agents notice, which is why the leverage grows by the month. If you still think the league can afford to wait, now consider brand math. Money moves decisions fast. Legacy pulls on a different timeline. The WNBA's best shot to match rival offers is a partnership that pays today and promises an identity tomorrow. Offer a role that outlives the player's career. Equity in league projects. A voice in media strategy. A branded youth pipeline. A lifetime ambassador lane that carries real dollars and real say. That is how you answer the one argument unrivaled cannot win. Permanence. A startup can pay big now. A league with institutional backing can pay now and later if it chooses. Make the later visible. Put it in writing. Attach revenue triggers that scale with the product she helped build. Meet reality. She's the reason the casual audience knows the schedule. Treat that fact as the foundation of the proposal. Legacy is also respect at scale. It shows the league is not afraid to admit difference in value. It signals ambition. It tells every young player that if you change the sport changes your life back. Do that, and you have a chance to reset the tone for the entire locker room. Do not do it, and you will debate the same issues after the next star arrives, if the next star arrives. Now tie this to what viewers will notice from the outside. You will see the effect first on TV. Follow the television windows. When Clark plays, national slots appear. Pre-game panels expand. Highlights lead the reel. That is not accidental. Networks chase attention. Attention follows stars. If she exits, those windows contract. Short term, the schedule still stands. Long term, it changes. A league without its most marketable player has to sell different stories. That is possible. It's also slower. Brands do not pour the same dollars into colder air. Merchandise is the second test. Jerseys and tees are simple to measure. If one name drives a disproportionate share of sales, the product mix tilts with her availability. Take that name out and inventory lingers. Sponsors see that. Retail sees that. The feedback loop is fast and unforgiving. This is why the next 6 to 12 months matter more than last season's glow. The WNBA cannot sell the future while leaving the present in due. Nail down certainty and you keep the window hot. Leave it open and the breeze gets cold. The choice looks big because it is. But the plan is practical. It is not romance. It is risk control. And that leads to the only play that makes sense. The WNBA should make a targeted, incentive-rich offer that sets Clark apart without detonating the locker room. Base salary at the top of the range. Revenue share tied to league growth. Marketing guarantees that place her at the center of major campaigns. Health and travel perks that address the grind. A leadership role that survives her playing days. Add an explicit clause that keeps the package immune to a canceled season if talks blow up. The message is clear. You are not a replaceable guard. You are the growth engine. In parallel, the league should publicize a phased pay plan for the rest of the roster. Tie increases to revenue markers across attendance and media. Players see a path. Owners see limits. The public sees a system. That reduces the noise around special treatment. It frames the star deal as a test case for a rising tide rather than a one-off. Finally, shift tone. Stop pretending value is flat. Celebrate difference without apology. The best way to retain a phenomenon is to act like you understand what a phenomenon is. If that happens, the rival's offer becomes less magnetic. If it does not, the rival's offer is not a rumor, it is the exit sign. So where does that leave us as the deadline approaches? Right at the fork. The alarm around 2026 is not hype. It is a chain of facts. The CBA expires. Talks could stall. A lockout could cancel the season. A rival league can pay more for less work. The most valuable player in the ecosystem has choices that are easy to understand and hard to match. Remove her, and the league's growth reverses. Keep her, and the league can convert a spike into a foundation. This is the trade. Pride or pragmatism. Hesitation or action. Flat pay or star-weighted partnership. The WNBA can secure stability by admitting what everyone already knows. One player moves the market at a level that demands a different blueprint. Write that blueprint now, and you buy time to build depth, widen the fan base, and prove the surge is durable. Wait, and 2026 becomes a cliff. If you were in Clark's shoes, would you stay in a league that cannot promise labor peace and top pay, or would you take the bigger check, the lighter load, and the louder respect somewhere else? Drop your take below. And if you think the WNBA should lock her in, tell me the one clause you would add to make the deal impossible to refuse.